Welcome to the Big Idea, Big Moves podcast. This is where we have really looked at a bunch of different issues across a number of niches or areas and talked to a lot of very different people. We have recently had shows with Joe DeCina from Spartan Race and really kind of talked to him about being able to build resiliency and being able to really kind of build an empire while at the same time making sure that there's a real focus in the background about kind of that physical health piece. We've talked to Heather Monahan, who has talked about building confidence and whether that's in your business life or whether that's in your personal life. And she's done a fantastic job there too. And then recently we talked to Kirsten Stewart, who joined us from Geneva, talking about how we're able to see whether there's any movements in that kind of whole lean in phase and are we doing what we should be doing in equality for women in the workplace. And so that was fantastic too. A couple of things that we really have liked recently is that we've got some great feedback from individuals that they're liking the content and that we're doing something that's a little bit different. So we're just going to share something right away, is that these are a couple of comments that we've had that have come through to us. And so this one I'll just say is, this helped motivate me. I'm one of the people the guest described at times. Like the saying goes, you can't do the same thing every day and expect different results. We always need to do things that challenge us and always be willing to try and evolve. And that was from Johnstone 75. So thanks to that person as well, because that's what we're trying to do here. Second one was congrats on another fine guest and topic for your lineup. Just listening to Nina, and that's Nina Purewal, who wrote a book that we featured in there as well, said that her speaking was relaxing, excellent, timely content that I wish I had a year ago. I'll recommend Nina's book and also the podcast, and that was from Looking Glass Coach. So again, thanks very much for listening, and if you haven't put a review in there or subscribed, make sure that you're doing that right away. We have awesome guests that continue to come up, and we're going to add to that today. Recently, we talked to Amy Perkins about her change in career. From being a teacher and doing some of that kind of coaching in the classroom, and how she shifted her whole career over that time period. We're going to look at something similar to that, but from a very different perspective. And so we're really pleased to have Shawn Matthias here today. And so Shawn, I know that today coming in, it's been snowy and not so fantastic out today, but you were getting prepared to, I think, head off somewhere warm in the next little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to Cabo on Sunday for my brother's wedding next week. So I'm escaping the weather. Perfect timing. My wife's actually pregnant, so she's stuck here, but so I feel a little bit bad for that, but it's an exciting time for the family, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Wow, that's great. And yeah, getting away, you've picked the right time. It's either snowing or freezing rain kind of around this time. So Shawn, I wanted to start our discussion a little bit about, it's actually been pretty recent that you've made kind of a transition from being a professional athlete. For people who don't know, so Shawn was in the National Hockey League. He played with the Toronto Maple Leafs, Winnipeg Jets, Florida Panthers, and Colorado Avalanche. And
a lot of teams.
Yeah, well, quite a few teams. And you also played for, I think, Team Canada in 2008 at the World Juniors. Right?
Yeah, I played World Juniors 1 year there. So we won the gold.
And you won the gold.
Yeah, that was pretty surreal. That was a amazing experience. That was one of my goals to accomplish in junior hockey, was to obviously get drafted and do all that, but also to make that team. And a few of my teammates are still playing, like Marchand, Giroux, and Subban, and it's that was a fun tournament. That was a fun month of my life for sure.
Yeah, no, very cool. And again, it's only been recently that you've kind of moved out of that kind of pro life. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what's the transition been like, and what are some of the challenges you've had with it, and we'll kind of jump off from there.
It's been different. I mean, it's when you're with a team, when you're part of an organization, with hockey, there's a lot of structure. Your schedule's booked for you pretty much all year round. In the summer, you know what your schedule is. It's just to train and to get on the ice. But during the season, I mean, you have, especially in pro hockey, and I guess all the way up, really thinking about it now, I mean, you have your dad who does kind of everything for you. In my case, with getting me to practice, buying my gear, then you get to junior, and it's Now you're part of a team, you're away from home now, but you're still pretty protected for the most part for like getting things done. Like in pro hockey, it's like a whole different level, right? If you need a hotel booked for your family,
Yep.
it's all done for you. If you need flights, someone else always does it for you. So
Yeah.
now being away from the game, it's different. Obviously, not going to the rink and seeing friends and like seeing the guys and all that, but it's been different for just like I depend on myself a lot more.
Yeah.
I enjoy that personally. I think the first year is really tough. This is now my second year out of the game. But it's definitely a transition. I mean, it's a lot of ups and downs. It's not as high a pace as it was when I was playing. You're always traveling. You're always going to different cities. You're always practicing. It's a very it's the pace you live at that level is very high, and the pace I live at now is not even close. So
does it feel like times where you just, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with myself?
Yeah, I mean, at first for sure. I was kind of like, to be honest, my body just was really hurting at the end. And I was just kind of like, am I going to go fight a spot for a 22-year-old? So I kind of had my decision made during the season. I kind of always said 10 years, get to 30.
Yeah.
And then maybe we'll go to Europe or do something. But I just kind of really enjoyed like thinking for myself for the first time and depending on myself and starting the next chapter instead of delaying it any longer. And it's been rewarding. I've learned a lot about myself, a lot of self-growth. My relationship with my wife is better because I'm home, and when I'm home, I'm present. When I was playing, I was always kind of I was there, but I was thinking about like getting my legs ready, making sure I was at my peak for the game, right? Like I wanted to have all the right food. I wanted to get my rest. I wanted to have that pop by game time. So everything I did in life was kind of around that. And I was just zeroed in on hockey. So now that hockey's not as big a part of my life, obviously, but it's still a part of my life. It's helped me. It's done a lot for me. I'm so grateful for the game, but it is nice to think for myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and I heard you on something recently. I forget where it was, but and it's something that a lot of people don't think about until later in life than you are. I mean, you're still a young guy, but you talked about, you start to think about, how do I kind of leave a legacy? How do I do some things where I build something different and I kind of shift from one phase of my life to another? And so how have you started thinking about that? What does that mean to you, I think, at your age?
To be honest, like when I first retired, I was like freaking out.
Yeah.
I was like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I like real estate. So am I going to be a real estate agent? Like I didn't know anything really, to be honest. I kind of just, at first, to be honest, I just joined a golf club because I was like, I need to get like a clubhouse back in my life, that kind of feel, right? So, because that was a big part of it, going to the rink every day and having meals there, like just starting to try and put the pieces back that I loved about the game. That's what I realized I started doing. I went and found a gym. So I started working out again because I took some time off that, let some things heal, and then just get my mind right. And then I started, the golf course was great because I had my buddies there. It's a lot like the team. You're in the, you're going there, you're having lunch together. I play in the mornings like I did practicing in the morning. So it's just a different sport now, but it's a similar lifestyle, I guess. But like I said, I go back to like thinking for myself. Now I'm kind of out there running around and making my own decisions, and it's fun.
Yeah. And that would be it, right? There'd be a big hole that you have to figure out how to fill, but also not be connected completely to what you used to do before. How do you make that bridge?
Yeah, it's like making your own schedule and stuff. Yeah. I read a lot of books on like growth and stuff like that because I was aware that it was going to be, I thought it'd be easier, to be honest. I thought it'd be not that hard to like transition because I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. Yeah. And now a year removed, a year ago, last year, I was a very different person. I was just, I've relaxed finally. Like I let go of like thinking I have a game or thinking I got to be ready for camp. Because when the season ended, I would take some time and relax and get my mind right traveling. So I was already kind of thinking about, to answer your question about like the future and stuff and life after hockey. I guess I was already thinking about that because I was creating content. I was filming everything.
Yeah.
And I never really released it because I thought it was something I could use when I was done. And I think traveling for me was, that's what opened my eyes. That's what changed me, to be honest. Like,
and it's funny. That's, I think, what jumped out as why we talked about coming on here, is that I saw that you had started really kind of throwing out some of the things that you've done and really engaging content about your kind of travels. And, that's pretty cool that you've already started to figure out how can I kind of use what I've done in the past to be able to connect with people differently.
Well, that was something like in hockey, you're almost like a soldier, right? Like if you look at it's not really an individual game, even though I think it kind of is tailoring around that now. Like if you look at teams, they're marketing 5-6 guys on a team now.
Yeah.
And they're paying those guys a lot of money, but they're also, because of how the world is now, like it's always, you're looking at content, right? You're looking at your phone, you're looking at your Instagram, you're looking at whatever, but you're following the teams. Like every team now, when I was playing, they wouldn't let you put a podcast out. Like I asked my last year, I said, could I put a podcast out? Because I wasn't playing. I was hurt and I was getting healthy. I was like, let me do something. So they asked and they're like, the team's not going to allow that. But I'm like, how ridiculous is that? You can't start a podcast because you don't want the team to look a certain way. So I thought that was normal. So then you go into the real world and it's like, you can do whatever the heck I want now. I'm like, this is amazing and I'm going to enjoy this. So, but put that structure that I learned out of hockey into that. And that's what's really helped me out from transitioning. Because a year ago, I was just going to the golf course and just really spending my entire day there playing like 36 holes. And my wife was not too impressed.
Yeah, I'm sure. And do you feel that you said that it was a little more difficult than you thought it would be? One thing, and athletes always say this, is that they do a better job probably than they used to, but there's still kind of some work to kind of help people understand, especially young people coming into a profession or working to get into a profession. Do you have some advice as to kind of those people? I know you talked a little bit about even, people see kind of the pay rates of some of those people. So you get the top 5 people on a team or whatever they happen to be. And yes, they have kind of huge numbers attached to them, but there are other individuals that maybe are just kind of getting into roles and maybe in other professional leagues that don't pay kind of the same levels, but people maybe think that it's much more than it is. And you have a much more collapsed time that you're in that profession. And can you talk to kind of a couple of things I know you've talked about recently?
Well, if I was talking to a younger athlete that's playing pro sports, I would say just maximize your time and not just your time in the game to build your brand and all that, but also you have a lot of time during the day. Like you practice and you have your whole afternoon and you get in this like soldier mindset almost where you're like, I gotta rest. I gotta get my napping. I got like everything's about the next game. That's how I saw it anyways. And a lot of my teammates were like that, but you get guys like PK Subban. He's done a amazing job at building his brand, and like his life after hockey is going to be very okay, right? Yeah, like I think he's set.
He's basically going to be probably on broadcasting right away if he wants to, because he's already set himself up for that.
He's an amazing hockey player. He's got a crazy work ethic. Yeah. So I respect him a lot for that as well. But his work ethic doesn't stop with just hockey. It continues with because he's thinking big picture. And I think when you're playing a lot of times, especially when you're a young player, you think that's it. And I posted something about that the other day about the money guys are making and how much they're losing off of taxes, escrow, agent fees, all this other, if you're paying for a house back home and you're paying for your rent, the team doesn't put us up. A lot of people think they do, but we go out and find our own homes. In the East Coast League and lower levels, they do that, but American League and NHL, you find your own homes. But just being aware who you're around, being aware of that you can do more than just play hockey. And if the team does tell you, like how I was told in Winnipeg, that's not a great idea, Shawn, but you know what? Who cares? Because they're looking out for their brand. I understand that, but you can look out for yourself too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you also mentioned on one of your posts recently as well is about how, a lot of times an athlete might not have it necessarily provided by the organization, but it's worth kind of while looking into. You said kind of sports therapy and sports psychology some of those are very directed, but some things you said had kind of really helped you over the last little while, whether it's through the transition or whether it's before that. And again, to people that are kind of in the sport or getting ready to transition, what would you say would be kind of a good way to use that?
Well, I went to therapy, so
Yeah.
I always was like, I don't need a therapist or anything like that.
Yeah.
And when I was playing, I didn't really like talking to the sports psychologist. They always worked for the team.
Yeah.
It was like you had 20 minutes with them. They came in. I didn't really know the guy. Like there was a bunch of them, but they were always like older gentlemen that I just didn't know who they were. And I was like, I'm not going to tell you things that I wouldn't tell other people when I don't even know who you are. Like it wasn't comfortable to me. It was never comfortable to me how any team really did it. Yeah. And I did like hire a guy to do it the 1 year in Vancouver. I liked that, but it was over FaceTime, and I don't know. It was okay, but it just wasn't really speaking to me.
Yeah. Like
everyone's different. Some guys really do like it and it works for them. For me, I probably never found a good fit.
The right fit.
But for therapy anyways, like leaving the game, the NHLPA actually provides therapy to any ex-player.
Yeah.
And it's paid for. And that's a great tool to have, because if you're going through a life, like I got married, I was retiring from the game I played since I was 5 years old. Like I had just bought a house. Like I had a lot of different things happening in my life. So I was like, when you think about balance and those types of things, and I was kind of just running too hard, and I just needed to think and take a step back. And I found with therapy and doing that, it just allowed me to like collect my thoughts, because a lot was going on. I thought I had to like go right out there and get a job and like, and because a lot of people in sports too, they'll come asking, they'll be telling you about these opportunities or whatever, and you got to really be careful. But so I just needed to take a step back and just kind of reevaluate everything. And I thought therapy was a great tool for helping me do that.
Yeah. Well, and really, that's not a lot different than any other kind of career transition, because
it's the same for everyone.
It's a major life change, right? And you had a few of them happening all at the same time.
Yeah. I'm like having a kid now. So I'm like, man, but like, I think about all this happening now, and I'm like, thank God.
Perfect
it's
time
after, because it's like, I'm present now. Like I'm there, like I'm fully like on board. Like, and that's not saying I wouldn't be, but if you have a game that night, like you're sleeping, you're like, I don't know. It's nice to not have hockey lingering over my head anymore. Like I missed the game a lot. I loved it. I'm grateful for everything it did for me.
Yep.
But I got my time. I had my 15 minutes there, and it was a lot of fun.
Very cool. And you always had a reputation of being a hard worker.
Yeah.
All the way through.
I think so.
So, I think that's the thread that they've seen, and how, I guess that works positively for you afterwards. Or probably was a little negative for a while too, because it probably almost accentuates that. What do I do? But now, or for anybody who has spent a lot of their time focused on, just really gutting it out through a sport, and you're shifting, how do you see that? Do you think that would translate into what you kind of do next? Is it, how do you make the shift?
Like one of my first networking meetings, I was asked, like, what do you do differently? I was like, well, I work really hard. I do all this. I'm the hardest worker in the room. And he just looked at me like I had two heads. He's like, so like, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, how much harder are you going to work than me? And like my whole life was based off of hard work. Like my dad taught me, he's like, I don't care if you score 1 goal, 5 goals, no goals, whatever, but you're going to work hard.
Yep.
And like, I just prided myself on working hard. So when I'm talking to someone like that and he doesn't understand what hard work is, it's because he doesn't work hard in my mind. Like I'm like how I see it now is I'm the CEO with Shawn Matthias, because I built myself up to play in the NHL, and I ran my own business essentially. I had people working for me running all this. So when I left the game, it was like a confidence issues, like, because I just was like, oh, like, where do I fit in now and all that. But now I look in the mirror and I wake up every morning and I'm just like, you're the CEO of yourself. Like you do whatever you want to do. You're the man. Like I don't care if it's like, who else is going to boast about me? So I might as well like feel that way about myself. And like hockey's a lot, like you're doing video, they beat you down a lot, right? Yep. Like they, like it's just very like high stress, like
Pointing
it's
at
a game of mistakes,
mistakes.
right?
Yeah.
So it's like every mistake matters.
Yeah.
So it's just different. And now I'm like, I can go make a little mistake here and there on when I'm teaching a kid how to skate. I've been doing teaching. I fell the other day, and my first reaction is my pride and my ego. I'm getting like all kind of like, and then I relax in like 2 seconds. I'm like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But so that's a good thing, more relaxed, but I still have that little like fiery side at times, like especially on the golf course, my buddies notice it, but still trying to get that.
Well, I'm sure the competitiveness doesn't go away when you're, it has to be to get to the level you did. You have to be pretty competitive.
That's like what I'm saying. Like I didn't go into a rink and be like, I'm going to be like scared tonight and like be afraid of the other team, like growing up. Right. So why am I afraid of walking out there and being myself? Like it goes back to like all that content and stuff. I always thought I shouldn't post this stuff and do anything with it while I'm playing because I might bother the team. I don't want them seeing anything. I released stuff when I was done my contracts. Yeah. When I was done my contracts, I went traveling. Yeah. And then I put content out there because I was like, I don't belong to anyone. And then when you got signed, it was like, it's just different. And, you sign a contract, you're not allowed to like ski. You're not allowed to get, because of risk of injury. Sure. So they don't want to see someone that invested money into bungee jumping. Yeah. But at the same time, like I'm 27, I think at that time. And I'm like, if I want to go bungee jumping, I'll go bungee jumping, right? Like I got to live my life at the same time. So I think they pay you so well and you got to be so committed to do a good job at it. So you have to be fully invested. But it's tough because you do have to think about your life at the end of your career, right? You got a lot of life to live, and for me, I wanted to see parts of the world, wanted to grow in different ways, and I think that's helped me a lot with my transition. Yeah.
Well, it's even being more authentic with people probably always helps anyway. I mean, it feels better to not have to hold back all the time.
Yeah, you want to live your most authentic lifestyle, right? You want to be authentic and pure and be genuine. And sometimes, I mean, we all know it. Like it's fake, like the interviews you see in hockey, right? Like I laugh seeing them, and all my friends used to text me laughing. They're like, but that's just the way it is. It's you're in a game. Like I'm not going to joke around, right? It's not going to be myself. I'm going to be dialed in there 100%. Like even when I coach now and I go out with a kid and I'm like watching like his mechanics and how he's moving and shooting a puck, his stride, whatever it is. Like that's when I really notice like my wheels start going again, because it's like something I'm so into, and like I love the game and I loved the grind. I loved improving. I loved practicing, working out. So like when I'm working with someone and I see that, like I do notice that's when I get like in that mindset again, and I'm just like really going after like probably talking a million miles an hour, and like the kid's probably just like so confused, but then I use those tools I've learned. I break it down and then I start like working it. So that's the benefits of therapy right there.
That's good. That's good. So one other thing I thought I'd ask your opinion on is, in the women's game right now, there's a lot of transition happening there right now. I mean, there's still kind of the NWHL in the States kind of moving along, but a lot of players are kind of in that in-between phase right now. Just any thoughts as to kind of what the men or people that kind of have some of that sway might be able to do to kind of, or should be doing, whether think they should be advocating, not advocating? What's your thought there?
I have no idea, to be honest. It's I found out I'm having a daughter. Yeah. And my friends asked me if she's going to play hockey, and I say that she's going to play golf. So my mind's kind of there right now with but looking at it and like hearing things about it, like why can't the NHL promote it and get guys doing that stuff, right? Whatever helps. It's growing the game. We talk about growth of the game. The NHL talks about going to China all the time, and they put games there with Vancouver and LA, I think a couple of years ago. Yeah. And they've had guys from like Boston go down there and do camps, and it's great. It's growing the game worldwide, right? They do those premier games and all that, but like, why can't you just promote like people that are in Toronto or wherever we're promoting like that team, right? The Leafs promoting a Toronto team. Like, I don't see what's wrong with that, and helping the brand of it. Hockey, I think, is what we're trying to help.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, I can't get away without kind of asking you a couple of really quick, just very hockey questions. Just before you finish, who did you hate playing against and why?
Who did I hate playing against? I'm going to say Ribeiro. I can't remember his first name because he hit it. He caught me in the head.
Mike? Is it Mike
something
Ribeiro?
like that.
Yep. Okay.
Caught me in the head once. I just never got a chance to get him back. And I would have enjoyed getting him back.
Yeah.
And I would have enjoyed that one.
All right. And other question is, I know you had a lot of success against Boston. I mean, you already talked about you've played with a couple of the guys there, at least Marchand. How about Chara? What's he like to play against, considering his size, and he's one of those guys that has stayed in the game for so long.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool that he's been able to do that. Any thoughts on that?
Well, the obvious, he's huge out there, and he's got a very scary shot at being a penalty killer. When you see that guy winding up, and you're in the lane, you're just hoping it hits you like in your shin pads, not somewhere soft, like in your ankles where it's going to hurt for a couple months after. But he's a guy that works really hard. Like he's a guy that works out every single day. Like he's a freak apparently. Yeah. And it goes back to like what I was talking about, like those networking meetings, right? You're trying to explain like the work ethic it is to get the NHL. And like, I'm not saying just NHL, people work really hard in life, right? And do whatever they're doing, but whatever you want to do well, you have to do it. You have to work extremely hard at it and buy in and be totally in that moment of whatever you're doing. And Chara's a guy who's played 1,500 games. He just got, he's still one of the fittest players from guys I know that play with him. He's on the bike apparently all the time. His body fat's low. He's lean and he's over 40 and he's still doing those things. So why he's still playing and why he's effective out there is because he works harder than everyone to do it. It's no question.
Well, okay, that leads me to the final thing I'll ask is we ask every guest if you could think of a couple of things that somebody who's going through a transition like yours or a general kind of big career transition, what would be a couple of things that you think that somebody should do just before they do that? What would be your kind of ideas?
What should someone do before they
make the big jump, or when they're to get prepared for that jump, whether it's retirement or whether it's moving to another career?
I don't know if I don't know. I mean, I don't think I'm the best to an athlete. Maybe I can give you some advice,
sure,
but
that's fine.
I don't know if there is anything you can do. Like for me anyways, I don't think there was much I could do at the beginning. Like I thought about it. I was like really scared with the idea, to be honest. Like, because I was like, if I thought more about what other people were going to think about it at first. I wasn't thinking about myself again.
Yeah.
And it's weird. Cause like when you're playing and you're in the game, like you come home to, for my case, Toronto to play, you got a lot of family, you got friends all there. You come in, you're going to dinners, and then you come home for the summer. Everybody wants to see you. And then all of a sudden you're now done. And it's just different. And, it's just, I don't know if you can, it just takes time to fix it. Like everyone said like the first year is going to be hard, and you start to put those little pieces together, which is finding a gym. Cause you don't want to work out like you were doing when you're playing, cause it's hard, but, getting a good solid routine, which is your foundation.
Yep.
And then having good people around you helps. You definitely want to cut. I started doing that like years ago though, but I was like, I got to cut my circle down because I knew my time was coming, and I just was like, I just want good people around. Right. And that was something I was mindful of. So I would,
and you know what? I don't think that's any different than if you, I mean, there are some people that are kind of like a vice president in an organization that's deciding they're going to go off on their own, just as scared about, okay, I have a big corporate role. I have the stuff that goes with that. It feels like, and then it's suddenly, everybody else around them is thinking, okay, is that the right move? Is it not?
I would say like learn to put yourself out there and be okay with yourself, because coming from like hockey, everyone always pushed my brand through their brand, right? Like, you get what I mean? Like, if you look at my Instagram, I have like 4 pictures of hockey on there. Yeah. I wasn't thinking that way. Yeah. Because Winnipeg or Vancouver or Toronto, they were constantly doing that. And then you're trying to think about like your next chapter. You might have great ideas and like the best idea out there, But if nobody knows about it, it's not going, you know what I mean? Like you got to market yourself to create these opportunities. And that was something I had definitely from a year, that meeting where I'm just going, oh, I work hard.
Yeah.
you know? Well, now I can articulate and speak more because I know who I am better. So I would say instead of just rushing into something and just take some time, figure out yourself, figure out what you want to do, figure out just who you are in general, and then create the life you want to create.
Cool. And so, Shawn, if people are trying to follow you or look at some of your stuff, where would they find most of that?
You can find me on Instagram at Shawn Matthias, LinkedIn, Shawn Matthias. I will be having a YouTube page coming up soon, I believe, and a podcast coming out in probably the new year.
Very cool. All right. Well, thanks for taking the time today. This has been awesome. And we'll make sure that you do that. Once you have the podcast, let us know and we'll send that out as well and get everybody subscribed to it. If you haven't subscribed, we already talked about that, but make sure you put down some reviews. Let Shawn know what you thought about today. And also make sure you subscribe to the podcast so that every time we have other people come up, that you'll be the first to know about it. But again, thanks very much. And we'll see everybody again on Big Idea, Big Moves.